Hi guys, I'm gonna do my blog on the life in the iron mills by Rebecca Harding Davis, and I'm gonna talk about the narrator in this specific vlog, and I'm just gonna talk about how sometimes he or she speaks in an accusatory tone towards a partially characterized addressee, so like towards the people or to the reader, and at other times he or she tries to evoke a sense of sympathy. So like, is it their goal, was it the narrator's goal to just tell what was going on in an impartial, almost unsympathetic way, or was it their goal to be or get the reader to feel sympathy towards what was going on for the mill workers, like what was going on in their life and things like that. So the narrator kind of starts off telling the reader just kind of about how awful it is where they live, where the mill workers live, and how the conditions of where they live are just how gross they are. You know, he or she says, the air is thick, clammy with the breath of crowded human beings. It stifles me. I open the window and looking out can scarcely see through the rain the grocer's shop opposite where a crowd of drunken Irishmen are puffing. You know, he says the idiosyncrasy of this town is smoke. It rolls suddenly in slow folds from the great chimneys of the iron foundries and settles down in black, slimy pools on the muddy streets. You know, so it's not a very inviting thing to think of. Inviting place to go is what you're thinking, and it just kind of adds to the whole sad life of for the mill workers. And then so it kind of, if you think about it, throughout the whole story, it's just the way that the narrator speaks. Is it, you know, what is his goal or her goal? What is their goal? Was it to make the reader sympathize with the mill workers, to make them feel sad or sympathetic, or just to make them feel something towards their life and how things are going for them? Or was it to, like, was the goal to create, I don't know, a space between like the fictional and real world? Was it just to simply tell the story of the mill workers and to just to tell it and not to create any emotion or anything like that? I found this one quote, and I can't remember what page I found it on, but it was, the narrator says, "Do you want to hear the end of it? Do you wish me to make a tragic story out of it? Why, in the police reports of the morning paper, you can find a dozen such tragedies." And I wrote it down, but here we can see that the narrator seems to be kind of unsympathetic towards what's happening in the mill workers' lives, um, and kind of to the tragedies of others, all the while obviously creating some sort of sympathy for the mill workers. So, I mean, you could say that the goal at some points was to create a sympathetic kind of, I don't know, sympathetic kind of view or feeling towards the mill workers, but then at other times maybe not. Or maybe that the goal, or the writer's goal, so Rebecca's goal, was to have the narrator seem unsympathetic or kind of offhanded, like, you know, kind of step back from everything that was going on, but to make it seem as though they didn't really care, but to speak in a way as though it was to make the reader feel sympathetic towards what was going on. And then I thought that was really interesting. And then I was going to kind of ask you a question, like, to leave this in mind. So, like, with all of this in mind, what would you say, like, the ideal audience that Rebecca had in mind when she wrote this? So, like, you know, knowing that the narrator may have been trying to make the audience feel sympathetic, or maybe not. So, like, what do you think that Rebecca had in mind for the ideal audience when she wrote this story? So, thanks, and